Hi, this is Timothy Zahn, author of Thrawn, and you're listening to Star Wars Reactions. Good for you.
There's been an awakening. Have you felt it?
In 1977, George Lucas formed a legacy.
The Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
Inspired by mythology, his saga has become a passion for many.
Feel the Force around you.
His legend has become our story.
It's true. All of it.
One of resistance,
We are the spark that'll light the fire that'll burn the First Order down.
rebellion,
Rebellion is built on hope.
and redemption.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
This is Star Wars Reactions.
Remember, the Force will be with you. Always.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special episode of Star Wars Reactions. We are going to have a blast, and there's a lot to talk about, and it's going to be great. So first off, let's get the introductions out of the way. Of course, you may recognize my dulcet tones. As one of your co-hosts, I am Aaron Harris, and welcoming back to the saddle is my friend, my pal, my compatriot, the Zeb to my Ezra, the David Motters. What's up, David? Welcome back.
Well, thank you, brother. You held down the fort incredibly well. I loved your kind of annotated chat with yourself. I thought that was really cool, and it was fun to hear you go through that. And I so loved hearing Tom on there last week. A chat with Tom Gross. Love him. For the order, Tom. And so, no, thanks for holding down the fort, and I'm so glad to be back. And like you said, this is, well, wait, I got to say it for Greg McLaughlin. I am ready to react in a very special episode. And I don't know, you want to say the rest?
Let's do it. You know, this is a milestone episode for us. This is the 150th episode of Star Wars Reactions. Insert cueing clip of everybody cheering and yelling, ah. But yes, episode 150 right here. And we are going to have some fun. That's 150 episodes of just y'all hanging out with us and having a great time. I'm so, I know, David, I assume you will agree, but I'm very grateful for 150 episodes over the last 3 years. And it has been a journey. It has been a blast. We've had a lot of fun and a lot of trial, but it has been fantastic. And the best part has been just getting to talk with you, brother. And of course, getting to know all of our fantastic listeners and to hear from them, and to just very grateful and very humble to be brought into their weekly routines.
Oh, I agree. Like we said from the very start, even when you and I have talked privately, we would do this anyways. We would talk to each other about Star Wars, that people, tune in and listen. We're so thankful for them. We have always said that. We're so thankful for them, and love that they've been a part of it. And like you said, we've gone through a lot. We know that most podcasts, what have we said, Aaron? I think, isn't the average, most podcasts don't make it past 8, 9, 10 episodes, I believe. Maybe it's 6. I don't know. It's a small number. It's a low number, I should say. It's not easy to do this all the time. And in fact, like you said, when we got to 150, you and I were running some numbers just before we got on air that even with Resistance reactions and some Rebels reactions were up over 200, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a lot. It's a lot of preparation. It's a lot of commitment. You and I have had families, our wives and kids have been understanding, and that's the other thing. Not only with our listeners, but we've each supported each other when we
Yes.
need to take a break, right, or stop, or you've got stuff with your family, I got stuff, because we've always said family first, and we've done it. We've lived up to that, and taken care of our families first, and then we jump on and record with each other, and I'm so very thankful for you, brother.
Well, as I am you, brother. It has been a journey, and I am looking forward to what the future holds, and the journey to 300 begins.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. We'll get up there to 300. Yeah.
We'll get it. We'll get it.
Yeah.
Slow and steady wins the race, my friend.
Right. That's right. Whatever,
So-
D and Z and 700 episodes, whatever.
Which congratulations to Dan.
I know.
Congratulations to Dan and Coffee with Kenobi. They just had their 700th
Yeah.
episode released. That is absolutely incredible.
Oh.
And shout out to Dan, man. I love you, brother. You are just doing a tremendous job over there, just kicking butt and taking names and just having fun doing it. And I am so happy for you. And so it's been so awesome watching this show grow from I jumped in right there at the beginning around episode 1 or 2, and have been a huge fan of CWK ever since. So seeing Dan hit 700, it made me happy. And not being on social media, because I'm on a social media fast right now, I did not know they had hit 700 because I hadn't listened to it. I haven't listened to, I've been bad. I haven't listened to any podcasts this week, but I've just been so busy. But
Sure.
I pulled up my phone and pulled up my podcast queue today to download stuff for the weekend, and there it was. I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
700.
Yeah.
Oh
Hey,
my word.
I jumped on Tuesday. Just wanted to be on there for the 700th, and like you said, I just had to tease Dan. It's fun to tease him a little bit, but he absolutely, congrats to Dan, and he's, we were part of that network, and he's been so supportive of us when we were part of the network, and as we jumped out of the nest and flew,
Yep.
So yeah, so 150 for us, I guess maybe a little over 200 considering the Resistance reactions and Rebels reactions, but absolute congrats to Dan as well. We can be happy for ourselves, but happy for others too. Yeah.
Absolutely. You know what we ought to do?
What's that?
We ought to do, you remember the profile episodes we used to do?
Yeah. Oh,
Character
yeah.
profile. We ought to
Oh.
bring that back and do a character profile and invite Dan on to be a part of that and do a character profile of the Millennium Falcon.
Oh, you. Tom Gross is loving you right now. Dan's like, whatever. It's not a character.
I'm being devious. Love you, brother.
Oh, my God.
I couldn't help it. That's wrong running joke. Long running gag with Dan there. Love it. Anyway, it's 150 episodes. It's been awesome. And before we move on, I just want to take a moment to say thank you to each and every one of you listening, because y'all are, like I say it at the end of every episode, and you may think it's just me going through a routine, but I truly mean it from the bottom of my heart. Y'all are the best. Y'all are awesome. Believe it or not, I really do pray for y'all every day, that y'all will be blessed and have a good life, and y'all are taken care of, because we do care. Y'all are awesome, and thank you for tuning in and listening to us ramble about Star Wars every week.
Right.
I do greatly appreciate it, and I'm humbled that y'all are out there listening to what we have to say.
Absolutely. Well said.
So, all right, moving on from there, I do want to give a quick shout out to a friend of the show, Daniel Contreras. He was actually in my neck of the woods this past week, and I had a super busy schedule, but I managed to squeeze in about 10 minutes to meet up with the brother and just sit down, have a quick 10-15 minute chat, which was really awesome. It's the first time I'd gotten to meet him face to face. If y'all may know Daniel, we've referenced him before. He is the man behind the Star Wars podcast days that come up every February. And of course, there's another one coming up this February, which we will definitely be a part of. By the way, David, I already committed to that with Daniel. Surprise. Not like we wouldn't have done it anyway, but
That's right.
I committed without talking to you, but surprise. It's what you get for taking 2 weeks off. You come back to committals.
Right. Oh, my Lord.
Oh Lord. But it was awesome. It was awesome seeing Daniel.
Yeah, I'm glad you did. I wish I could have. And we were going to try to meet up with him. It seemed like, was it earlier this summer, spring or summer? He was trying to get a get together, and
yeah, he comes to because I live in Lakeland. He comes to Lakeland every year around Veterans Day. So we were trying to piece something together while he was here, and it just didn't work out. And I ended up having about a small window I could meet up with him on Sunday, and it worked out great. And I had a great time seeing him. That great guy, had an awesome time. So looking forward to when he comes back next year to make it a longer visit. So, and hopefully you can join us too, David, next time.
Oh, definitely. I want to spend some time with Daniel, and loved all his emails into the show and his, just, talking to us, etc. I just so thankful for him, and definitely got to meet him, and we're going to make it happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And talking about emails and thankful for stuff. And we want to remind y'all that the Thanksgiving listeners reaction episode is still on the table. We still want to do that, but in order to do that, we have to hear from y'all. We want to hear why you are thankful for Star Wars. It could be about any part of Star Wars, movies, shows, whatever, but just take a few moments just to tell us why you're thankful for Star Wars. You can do that through any of our social medias. You can send us a DM, or you can email us. Of course, we're on Facebook. We're on Twitter at SW Reactions Pod, Instagram, and oh my gosh, I'm not used to doing this in the beginning of the show.
Oh,
Instagram and Pinterest and Tumblr at Threads at SW Reactions. Then, of course, email swreactions@gmail.com. Or, of course, if you want to leave us a voicemail, you can hit us up speakpipe.com/Star Wars Reactions and leave us a 90-second voicemail telling us why you are thankful for Star Wars. We would love to hear from you. We would like to try to have all of those in so I can edit them together, preferably by, I know I originally said Monday the 20th, but if we could get those by end of the day on the 21st, which is Tuesday, I'll get extended an extra day. It would be awesome. That way I can have some time, and we will release that instead of our normal Friday. We will release that on Thanksgiving, so y'all have something to listen to while you're driving to your family's houses, or while you're sitting amongst your family, if you want to break away for a few moments. That way y'all can listen to it, because I know it's going to be a blast, and I'm really looking forward to this. But we really need y'all to participate in this listener reaction to make it happen. So we're waiting to hear from you.
Nice.
All right. Well, episode 150. What could we do that would possibly make this a special episode? So we had, we've been talking over the last several weeks about episodes we had planned out. We even talked with them, like the profile of the Night Sisters, and of course the certain point of view books, stories. We mentioned those, and they've kind of been pushed back because of one thing or another. But tonight I wanted to sit down, and because it's episode 150, I thought it would be good because, you've heard me on a couple of occasions basically just share my journey through fandom. But I'm only half the team. I could not do this without my buddy David. And he has not shared his full journey with us yet. So I figured, what a better way to celebrate our 150th episode than having a chat with David Waters. That's right. So we are going to go through David's journey through fandom from start to finish. Of course, you know my co-host, David. He's a great guy. He's a husband. He's a father. He's a psychologist. And, of course, he podcasts with this guy right here, and is just somebody who loves Star Wars. And I thought it would be awesome for y'all to hear some of the stuff I know and have heard, and some of the stuff I don't know. So I'm going to be learning stuff, too, about my co-host. So this is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So if you're ready, David, let's get to know you.
Let's do it. Let's dive in. Yeah. I mean, you and I have shared our fandoms, parts of it, over all these years, but I guess never in one concise place. So when you said it, I thought, yeah, I loved how you did it. And because usually we're just, like I said, chatting with different people in the fandom. And so, yeah, it'd be kind of fun to just kind of buzz through this and hopefully not bore people to tears.
Absolutely. Hopefully that won't happen, but
Exactly.
It's going to be fun. So here we go. So David, let's start with the question that we always start with for every single guest we have, which is, how and when did your fandom start?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this, and I'm one of the OTs, right? Original trilogy kids. And I was at that perfect age, that 7, 8, 9 age range. I was 8 at the time in 1977. And I don't, it's kind of funny. I don't recall seeing movie posters or commercials and stuff, but I remember being in Midland, Michigan, with my parents, and we went over to a theater in Midland, which is, again, not my hometown, but where my parents grew up. And I remember sitting down in the theater, and this kind of helps me to remember that I didn't see Star Wars opening night, but probably within the first, it had to have been the first couple of days that it premiered, because I remember sitting down and with my mom and dad, and there was a couple in front of us with their kids. And they turn around and start talking to my mom and dad, and I'm listening, and they're like, "Have you seen this?" So they obviously had seen it like the day before or two, right? The previous couple of days. And they were from Texas. I remember that. They must have been visiting family in Michigan. And my parents said no, and I'm like, no. And they were just gushing about the movie. And I do remember one of the parents, I think it was the mom, says, "You won't believe it when you see Darth Vader." And of course, I didn't know who it was. And then, of course, the movie starts and I'm blown away. And of course, from there, I go on and I saw Star Wars in the theater 10 times. It's the only movie I've ever seen in the theater double digits. A New Hope. And so, yeah. And so did that over the course of the summer. I remember, begging my grandmother to take me. And I remember one time she took me, this was later in the summer of 77. And she took me, and I remember, and again, I don't know, you can't really do this much anymore, but sitting there, watched the whole thing, sat in there, waited. They came in and cleaned. No one told me to leave, and watched it a second time. And, and it was great. So that was two of the 10 times in the theater. So that really started my fandom off. And then I remember my dad buying me my first Star Wars action figures in 78. I believe my first one was C-3PO. I remember the gold plating and all that kind of stuff, and went on to collect all that. And then, of course, and you and I've sent you pictures of this, and we've talked to Greg McLaughlin about it. I collected every single card from the tops with the first 6, the original tops Star Wars cards. And so between action figures and cards and got the toys, and seeing the movies. That really started the fandom for me at 8, 9, 10 years old.
Wow, that's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah.
So of course, being that you started at that golden age of 7, 8 years old, and of course, as you've journeyed through fandom, what is it about Star Wars that has appealed to you as a fan?
Well, for me, I think it's, and this will come up later in the themes. It's just, I think I just was so excited about how hopeful it was, and the heroes triumphing against ultimate evil. That appealed to me. I think being taken to another world, the space fantasy. I was thinking back, like, Aaron, you and I have heard a lot of people talk about what was going on at that time, really in the early 70s, mid 70s, were all these disaster movies, right? I think the Poseidon Adventure, Towering Inferno, everything was some kind of disaster. And then Lucas comes in with this, really in essence, epic space fantasy that's very uplifting, positive, and hopeful. And I didn't know that contrast, right? Because I don't remember seeing any of those movies. So for me as an 8-year-old, I didn't really realize there was this massive contrast going on in movie culture, and even our own culture. And so for me, without even knowing that, for me, that's what appealed to me. And I mean, obviously, like I just mentioned, the cards, the toys, action figures, all that stuff, that really appealed to me as well. But I think overall, it was just how fun it was. So it's all those things, and of course now it's grown into just so many great friends. So that's added to it. That's the big appeal now. And you've mentioned it, like all the friends we've made, through Star Wars and of course podcasting.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, it's definitely fun and enjoyable. So, what has Star Wars fandom's biggest impact been on you?
Well, I I really think it is the friendships. I think I've heard Tom talking about it when you chatted with him. Like I said, when I first started at 8 years old, there's no internet, there's no social media, none of that kind of stuff. And now, there's so much, but it's just, I think about meeting you, and we've talked about this at Star Wars weekends, and not only you becoming such a close friend, but then podcasting together, for all these years. That friendship, going to cons with you, meeting Timothy Zahn, this year, having Star Wars authors on here, it's just, but all of that is cool stuff. But, like we mentioned a minute ago, like, you developing the relationship with Dan Z and Corey Clubb and Tom Gross and that podcast, and then us kind of, you asking me on, and then all the people we got to meet over the years here. And, that meetup we did back in June was just wonderful. June 11th, there at Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar, and meeting all those people, meeting Christina and Kendra from Australia, and of course Liberty and her mom, and Terry. Of course, we did a chat with Terry a little while back. Andrew Harrison, who's always on CWK Cafe and stuff. All those people. It was just incredible. And it just keeps growing. Mary and Chaz, and it's just unbelievable. So I do think just this expanding number of friends. Of course, you just mentioned meeting Daniel, and so I want to meet him, and so on and so forth. But it's made it so much richer. But I think that's been the biggest impact, is just this growing family of friends where, we do talk about Star Wars, but we talk about other stuff too, about our lives and stuff. But that's got to be it. That's the biggest impact that being a part of Star Wars fandom has brought me. And again, talk about being thankful at Thanksgiving time. I'm so thankful for all the people that you and I have met through Star Wars.
Oh, well said. Well said. Because people have, I mean, if it wasn't for Star Wars, like you said, you and I would have met. It's crazy that that a movie that was a passion project of a man back in 1977 has impacted so many people around the world for this long. I mean, that's insane. You know, how many other movies from 1977 can you name?
Oh, right.
But everybody knows Star Wars. The cultural impact it's had on generation after generation, and the fact that generation after generation can come together over the saga is just, it's magic. I mean, it's pure and simple. It's awesome. So, well, we got more questions we're going to go through, but I'm going to ask you one more before we take our break here. And David, I need to know, do you have a favorite Star Wars moment or experience?
Now this is like
besides meeting me.
Well, exactly. At 4 a.m. there in front of Disney's Hollywood Studios,
exactly,
during Star Wars weekends. Well, you know, I can see why this is so difficult when we ask these questions of everybody that we've had come on. I don't want to narrow it down to one. You know, it's kind of that whole challenge of that, because I run through, you know, favorite experiences, like you said, meeting you. I remember just using Twitter, I think, and you and I were, wait, are you here? I'm here. Where are you in line? I'm right here. And everyone's laying and sleeping, and some people are awake, and we're waiting in line to get our wristbands, you know, to be able to get autographs from Star Wars celebrities. But you know, I started thinking about this. You know, I don't know, how could I do this? Like, from, you know, I think of Star Wars weekends being some of the, you know, ultimate experiences. I think particularly taking my son and daughter, when I met you there, and them meeting all the Rebels cast and getting their autographs and pictures and stuff like that. I don't, you know, how do you do that compared to, like, say, going on the Halcyon earlier this year? You know, that experience, as you know, Aaron, you know, you heard Tom talk about it, and it's unbelievable, you know, and I so wanted you there. That experience, and then I think of celebrations. You know, those are kind of the big, you know, Star Wars weekends. You've talked about it. We seen James Arnold Taylor's show at the Premier Theater, and oh my gosh, the parades and autographs and pictures, being up close and personal with all those voice actors, seeing Billy D. Williams, all those people, Peter Mayhew. But you know, favorite out of those, I guess I have to ask myself if you know, if someone was holding a gun to me, like, what would I say out of those three? And I think I would have to say Star Wars weekends, you know, and my kids being there, a part of that, meeting you. You did their first interview for a podcast. I remember that, and where we were. Meeting all those celebrities, autographs, pictures, and my kids were there. I wish they would have been on the Halcyon. I wish you would have been there. But I think overall that whole experience over the years was so special. The Halcyon was 2.5, 3 days of just unbelievable. It's right there. But I think if I had to say it, you know, and it's smaller, right? It's huge, but it's smaller than Star Wars Celebration. So I think if push came to shove, I'd have to say all those experiences at Star Wars weekends.
It's a writer's block, wasn't it?
It was the writer's block. We were right in there, and we always loved being there. We could charge our phones. I remember we met Jason Fry in there, and my kids did. We got his autographs in different books that he's done, Star Wars books he's done. Met who else was in there signing books? Trisha Barr, thank you. Yeah, I remember meeting Trisha Barr in there. And again, you doing that, and I think you having that recorder, and I think that, you really think about it, that really was the start of this whole journey, was right there in Disney's Hollywood Studios with you, with my kids. And, that's special stuff. That is special stuff. And so, yeah, no, I'm glad that, I'm glad you mentioned that. But those were special times. And I'm so thankful I was there for them. And you were there too, buddy.
Oh yeah, those were incredible weekends, and I will probably those will probably be some of my most cherished memories of honestly Disney as a whole. And when I think about going to Disney, that's what I'm always going to go back to, Star Wars weekends, because they were long and I was exhausted by the time it was over, but it was worth every minute.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Perfect. Well, we are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to fly through the rest of these questions and continue exploring David Motter's Star Wars fandom. So hang with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Aaron and David here, episode 150 of Star Wars Reactions. We are Carabast.
We had to have one.
You can't have Star Wars Reactions without a Carabast moment. And it usually involves me getting tongue-tied, just like that. So wouldn't it be 150 without a Carabast? So we are going to continue exploring David's fandom and his journey through Star Wars as we start getting into some of the deeper questions about the saga. And of course, David, and you and I have talked about this a lot off the air, and we've had discussions with people that have been on the show that we've had reaction chats with. But of course, Star Wars has a lot of themes that run through the stories, like redemption and hope, family. What theme from the saga has made the biggest impact on you?
Well, that one, unlike the experience where I wanted to list 50 things, this is a no-brainer for me, and this fits in with a question in our speed round. But it's the theme of hope, and I love that later on George Lucas put those titles, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, but called it A New Hope. And again, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, I think that was so appealing, and it is to this day, particularly when you look at the world. My career as a psychologist, seeing how difficult life is and how critical hope is. In fact, I might have talked about this in one of my psychology corners, Aaron, where we know that when we assess for depression, here's a tiny little psychology corner within episode 150. When we assess for it, we assess part of it is suicidal ideation. However, if you look like, I'd say the work of Dr. Aaron Beck, who is a famous psychiatrist at the University of Pennsylvania, he really added on to the measure of depression by looking at hopelessness. And we see that when people endorse that, not just other depressive symptoms, there's a higher probability of suicide. And so that concept for people to be hopeful versus hopeless, it was critical before George Lucas did Star Wars. It's critical to this day, all these years later, and it will be, in years to come. But that's why it's, been so appealing to me, and that's the theme for me. There's other themes, and you and I have talked about them in the various series and TV shows and movies of found family and things like that, and those are huge. At the same time, like I said, hope, that theme of hope is critical, and the most made the biggest impact on me to be a hopeful person and to see others that way too.
Love that. Well said. So As you have traveled through the road of your down the road of your fandom through the years, how have you seen Star Wars fandom change?
Yeah, several ways. Like I mentioned to you before, back in, when I in 77, 78, 79, 80, when Empire Strikes Back came out, and even 83, I was just starting I was going to move into my freshman year of high school. No internet, no, not instant access via streaming, stuff like that. But I felt like, there was more positivity, like it was fun, and we had a lot of fun, and we played it out, and we played with our Star Wars action figures. I remember trying to make a little small Star Wars movie with a friend of mine at the time back in Elma. We had all our action figures out, and we were trying to figure out how to film a little movie with a little camera that his mom and dad had and all that. But part of what you and I've seen and experienced through this process, and we were, podcasting during the time, is, all the divisiveness of The Last Jedi and what happened with that. I wish that wouldn't have happened, but because of the internet and because of the echo chamber, people really have this avenue to criticize not just Star Wars, that IP, but every, Marvel and Indiana Jones, you name it, any type of popular culture IP. So that's a big part of fandom that, I just really didn't have to deal with as a younger age. Now, I will say this, and I've heard other people who were around at the time, you kind of felt like, well, there's some kids want to play Star Wars, but you're kind of like, well, is it just us or is there more? But with the internet, with the expansion of connectivity, you realize, oh my gosh, there's so many more people in fandom. And so that's been a wonderful thing and a wonderful change that I've seen in fandom, is just how many. And when you go to a Star Wars celebration, I've been to a few of them. You and I went to the one together in 2017 at Orange County Convention Center here in Florida, Orlando, Florida. And even when you and I go to what you and I call our hometown Comic-Con, Central Florida Comic-Con, that's grown by leaps and bounds. The fandom has grown and grown and grown, and it's what? Geek to be chic, or right? It's right, or
Chic to be geek.
Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah.
Geek is chic, or, nerddom, or, it's not this horrible word anymore where it's kind of like, oh, those guys are nerds, or these women are nerds. And, you see like someone like Ashley Eckstein creating her universe and bringing so many women, into the fandom, and having, clothing line for not just them, but for everybody. But just the growth of fandom, and goodness, when you look at conventions, Aaron, they're just like, what's one of the big issues we've seen with Star Wars Celebration? They don't have enough room for people.
Yeah.
So it's grown by leaps and bounds. And I hope as time passes, and you and I have been trying to be a positive voice within fandom, that it'll tilt more that way. But boy, negativity can be really big, but we're going to really try to push past that. But the growth, the number of fans, the connectivity, and those are kind of the biggest things I've seen. But I love to see so many people as fans.
Very good. Very good. Very good. It does make a world of difference. The internet does.
It is big time. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And of course, the final question before we go into our speed round, which, of course, David, is how do you feel about the current direction of the Star Wars saga?
Yeah. This is interesting. And you and I think, like I said, talked about this more off air than on. But it's a fascinating thing. And I do think about how difficult things are. Why do I say this? Because, when George made the original trilogy, wraps that up in 83, waits for technology to develop and says, you know what, this is November of what, 90, was it 4? He starts writing the script to episode 1 and then gets it developed, and it comes out in 99. And so I remember, what was it? I was watching a behind the scenes clip, and it shows George after a scene had ended. And I don't know, I think this might have been for episode 2 or episode 3. And the microphone picks it up and he says, man, or something along the lines, I'm paraphrasing, why did I come back for this? I mean, it's hard, it's, like you said, when you commit to a trilogy, that's a decade of your life. And all the criticism that, George took and he created the whole thing. And what, I think about is in terms, again, I'm not off this question of the direction of the saga, because when you see the creation of the sequel trilogy, you see how difficult it is to make Star Wars, and how I don't know that I would sign up. JG originally said no, right? To Kathleen Kennedy. She convinced him to come in, and he did. Didn't do episode 2. You see what Rian Johnson dealt with her. They brought JJ back. And you watch the documentary on that for The Rise of Skywalker, and I think you and I've talked about this on air before. You see him filming one of the first scenes. It's Poe Dameron in the cockpit of the Falcon, and I don't know if he looks at the camera or he's talking to somebody. He's like, I can't believe I dodged a bullet the first time, Force Awakens. I can't believe I'm back for a second. It's just so difficult to do. So I say that to say, it is clearly incredibly difficult to make Star Wars movies. So when we talk about the direction of the fandom, when you look in this idea of trying to create these movies, we've seen this movement into the TV series, and you and I have covered them. I've really enjoyed them. This has been really the primary move in the saga, right? To be kind of long form, and I think it's been outstanding with Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, and then of course with Tony Gilroy with Andor, and it's brought some really great Star Wars content. The thing I think about, Aaron, is I do worry about just any director trying to go into this. James Mangold trying to do one, the Dawn of the Force and the Jedi, right? That was announced in April. I'm trying to remember the name of the woman who is going to direct the Daisy Ridley movie. Looking at the new Jedi Order, I don't envy her. And even Dave Filoni trying to pull together the Filoni-Favreau universe. It's just, I don't know. It's tough to do. The scrutiny is staggering. Star Wars fans look at every frame of every movie and dissect it a million times. And so I think to myself, is the direction going to be movies? Is it going to be mostly streaming? I've heard many people saying, you and I've talked about this, buddy, Star Wars belongs on the big screen. And I hope that happens. I just think that it has been shown it's incredibly difficult after George did those original 3, because even he was hammered after the next 3. So I'm hopeful, again, there's the theme, that these directors will be successful, really put out some really good Star Wars movies, and we can enjoy it on the big screen, not just the small screen at home.
Absolutely. Well said, my friend. Well said. It's definitely been a journey for the saga. So, all right. Well, that wraps up all of our questions, except for our speed round, my friend.
Yeah.
You think you're ready for that?
Oh, definitely.
All right. Here we go. Speed round questions with David Motters. Question 1. What's your favorite movie?
Same as yours, buddy. A New Hope. A lot of people pick Empire Strikes Back, but it wouldn't be there if it wasn't for A New Hope. And is the theme that most appeals to me, hope. So A New Hope.
Very good. Favorite character?
Luke Skywalker. I know a lot of people pick Han and some others. I love all them, Chewbacca, but
Chopper.
I know. I mean, I have to admit, Chop is, he's tough. He's tough to beat. I mean, even Mark Hamill would be like, yeah, he's pretty cool. you know. But yeah, definitely, yeah, Luke Skywalker.
All right. I got a feeling I know the answer to the next one. Then Empire Rebellion.
Well, it's Rebellion, and Tom Gross last week, he kind of tried to bring his voice down. He says, I think David's going to be upset with this, but Rebellion, because he and I have the running joke from being part of the First Order path when we were on the Halcyon back in June. And so, Tom, I'm with you. I pick Rebellion over Empire, so it's all okay.
All right. Well, what is your favorite moment from any of the movies or shows?
When Luke blows up the Death Star. When that happened, just that victory over evil, the hopefulness, the rebels were victorious. They had the big celebration at the end there. But yeah, Luke blowing up the Death Star. That was the biggie.
Very good. And last but not least, favorite soundtrack or song from a soundtrack?
I am not an aficionado like you. You are the music guy, the soundtrack guy, John Williams, Kevin Kiner guy, Michael Giacchino. But I did think about this, and I think it has to be Across the Stars. I think that's it. I love the Imperial March. I know Tom mentioned that last week, but yeah, I think that's. Does that make sense? I just think it's so incredible. I don't know. I love Duel of the Fates too, and how that is, and the sound, and how John Williams brings in that choir, and there's, oh my gosh. But I think overall it's Across the Stars.
Very good. Of course, that ends our speed round. And pretty much wraps up our journey through your fandom. Is there anything else about your fandom you want to share before we start closing stuff out?
I don't think so. I'll probably think of something as soon as we move on to the Star Wars dad joke of the week. But no, I think I'll say this in the theme of Thanksgiving. I'm very thankful for the 150 episodes. Actually, more than that, I'm thankful for you as a co-host. And for you asking me to come on board. I'm thankful to Dan and Corey and Tom and Coffee with Kenobi and, Greg McLaughlin and all the other podcasts out there. I'm very thankful to our friends. I'm thankful that I fell in love with Star Wars and then have moved on and had so many friends that we have. I'm thankful for, some of the people that you and I have been able to interview. And some of the events that you and I have been able to be a part of, I'm thankful for all that. And so I guess that was just maybe the last little bit is just kind of give thanks at this time of year.
Good. Very good. Well said, my friend. Now, of course, if somebody wants to talk about your journey or talk about Star Wars with you, how would they go about doing that?
Absolutely. Twitter X is at David_Modders, Modders. There's an S on the end. Instagram is just my name, David Modders, and I think people can write into the show at our Gmail and get a hold of me there through you. I know you check all those accounts, so yeah, those are the places.
Very cool. And of course, if you do want to talk Star Wars with me, the best place to do that is on actually it's nowhere right now because I'm taking a social media break. But you can reach me through all of the show's social media because I am still taking care of that. Of course, as we mentioned earlier, we have our Facebook and Twitter at SW Reactions Pod, our Instagram, Threads, Pinterest, and Tumblr at SW Reactions. Show's email address, swreactions@gmail.com. And of course, SpeakPipe, where you can leave us a voicemail, speakpipe.com/Star Wars Reactions. Links, of course, for all of these are in our show notes. And again, as a reminder, don't forget to participate in our Thanksgiving show. We want to hear from you and hear what you are thankful about when it comes to Star Wars. So share with everybody what you're thankful for, what about Star Wars you're thankful for, and we will get it out there. So, well, David, are you ready?
I am, and I do have to say this, that last week, you and Tom, well, actually it was you. It was beyond a Carabas moment. It was a Freudian slip. When you said, since Dad isn't here, instead of Dave. And so that was oh my gosh. So I had to comment on that. And you and Tom were having a good chuckle at that. So, so yes, I'm ready for the Star Wars Dad joke of the week, not the Star Wars Dave joke of the week.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, I knew you caught that. So I knew you're not going to let me live that one down. So, but yeah, it has been, that was fun. I was, if you could have seen me, my man, I had my head on my desk. I was crying.
You and Tom were just,
oh gosh, it was hilarious. So, all right, but that is definitely funnier than our dad joke of the week this week. So this is just to welcome you back, my friend.
All right,
here we go. What do you call the person who brings the Rancor his dinner?
I don't know. I'm kind of curious here. What do you call the person who brings the Rancor its dinner?
The appetizer.
Oh, jeez. Wow. That's good, actually. That's not a groaner. That's good. Well, it's a little bit of, but that was
appetizer.
Good. Oh my God.
Well, buddy, it has been a blast for 150 episodes, and I am looking forward to the journey through the next 150, my friend.
Oh, absolutely, man. Let's get up to 300 and keep it going.
Absolutely. And we want to thank again each and every one of you for joining us, not only tonight, but over the last 150 episodes. We, like I've told you before, I say it again, we love y'all. We appreciate y'all. We truly believe y'all are the best listeners out there. We mean it wholeheartedly. Thank y'all so much for joining us. We're praying for you. Take care of each other. Be nice to somebody this week going into Thanksgiving. Bless somebody. Help somebody out. You never know nowadays what people are going through. So try to make the world a little bit brighter for everybody. So remember, this is your place for elegant discussion for a more civilized age.
If you'd like to share your thoughts, you can email us at show@starwarsreactions.com for our show notes and the latest news from the Star Wars universe. Visit our website at www.starwarsreactions.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at SWReactionsPod or on Facebook at Star Wars Reactions. If you enjoy our show, please leave a review on iTunes. This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or by Lucasfilm Limited. It's intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars. All names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and the respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Star Wars Reactions unless otherwise indicated. Star Wars Reactions. Elegant discussion for a more civilized age.